There is an aquatic plant that fed the first farmers of China for 6,300 years. A plant that contains 52% pure starch, more carbohydrate density than wheat. A plant that European Neolithic communities harvested so extensively that when cereal crops failed between 4000 and 1000 BC, it became their primary food source, their survival ration. By 1880, you could buy its roasted nuts in markets across Italy, France, and Germany, sold like chestnuts on street corners. Today, in North America, we spend millions of dollars every year trying to kill it with herbicides. What happened? In 4700 BC, at a settlement called Apovo in what is now northern Serbia, people were eating something strange. Archaeologists found charred fragments in the cooking pits, triangular spikes attached to hard nutshells, each nut armed with 4 backward-curving barbs that looked like medieval weapons. The plant was Trapa natans, the water caltrop, named after the caltrop, the 4-spiked Roman battlefield device designed to cripple cavalry horses. But this was not a weapon. This was food. The archaeological record is unambiguous. Water caltrop sustained human civilization across 3 continents for 8 millennia. At Lake Federsee in southern Germany, paleoethnobotanist Sabine Karg documented something extraordinary in 2006. Between 4000 BC and 1000 BC, wild water caltrop wasn't just supplementing the Germanic diet. During cereal crop failures, which happened often, it became the main dietary component, not a backup plan, the primary starch. In China, the timeline goes back even further. Genomic analysis published in 2021 traced the domestication of Trapa natans to the Yangtze River Valley around 6,300 years ago. At the Tianluosan archaeological site, dated between 7,000 and 5,800 years before present, researchers found storage pits packed with water caltrop fruits, larger than wild varieties but smaller than modern cultivars. The plant was already under intensive cultivation. This predates most grain agriculture in the region. The plant earned over a dozen names across Eurasia: Sinhara in India, Lingzhou in China, waternuss in German, Jesuit nut in medieval Europe. In Italy, craftsmen carved rosaries from the polished nuts, starting in the 16th century, possibly as far back as Roman times. Professor Jelena Blaženčić of the University of Belgrade wore one as a necklace in 2001 when she showed researchers how traditional Balkan communities still harvested the plant from Lake Skadar in Montenegro. By the Middle Ages, water caltrop had a specific nickname in European lake settlements: water bread. That wasn't poetry, that was function. Medieval communities living on stilts above Swiss and German lakes ground the dried nuts into flour. They stored it through winter like grain. When wetlands flooded, water caltrop became more reliable than terrestrial crops. Neolithic Swiss pile dwellings have yielded thousands of charred caltrop endocarps, the woody inner shells, proving this wasn't occasional foraging. This was agriculture. The plant was sold in Strasbourg markets until 1880. In Venice, you could buy it roasted until the turn of the 20th century. In northern Italy, street vendors sold it exactly like sweet chestnuts, hot from cast iron pans. Then, in 1874, something changed. A botanist at Harvard University planted Trapa natans in an ornamental pond at the university's Botanic Garden in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It was an aesthetic choice. The floating rosettes looked elegant, diamond-shaped leaves arranged in perfect circles on the water's surface, each leaf supported by an inflated petiole, a natural float bladder. The white flowers were delicate. The spined fruits were exotic curiosities. By 1879, the Harvard gardener and local plant enthusiasts had deliberately spread the plant into nearby ponds along the Sudbury and Concord rivers. They wanted it naturalized. They wanted it everywhere. They got their wish. Within 40 years, water caltrop had exploded across the Northeast. By the 1920s, it covered 4,000 hectares of the tidal Potomac River. Navigation became impossible. Thick mats of vegetation choked waterways. The plant could trap 95% of sunlight hitting the water's surface, creating dead zones below. Boats couldn't move. Swimmers couldn't enter. The U.S. government declared war. Between 1920 and 1950, the Army Corps of Engineers spent what would equal $2.8 million in 1992 dollars on mechanical harvesting operations in the Potomac alone. Teams of workers used cutting boats to slice through the mats. They raked millions of plants from the water. It didn't matter. The seeds, capable of remaining viable in sediment for 12 years, kept germinating. The plant's biomass could increase tenfold in a single growing season. In 1956, the U.S. government made Trapa natans illegal. Federal law banned its sale and shipment. Violators faced fines and imprisonment. The chemical solution came next. Herbicides containing 2,4-D, the same compound used as Agent Orange's less toxic cousin, became the weapon of choice. Applied in early summer, just as the plants reached the water's surface, 2,4-D killed water caltrop effectively, but it required annual applications, forever. Because the seed bank lasted over a decade, missing even 1 year allowed the population to rebound. Today, Lake Champlain spends $500,000 annually on water caltrop control. The Finger Lakes region received a $750,000 grant in 2016 for hand-pulling operations. The plant is classified as a noxious weed in Florida, North Carolina, and Washington. Invasive species databases describe it as an ecological threat and nearly impenetrable. The language is interesting: threatening, aggressive, invasive. But here's what they don't tell you. In 2004, researchers at the CABI Compendium analyzed the composition of Trapa natans nuts. The data was published in their invasive species profile, a document designed to help eradication efforts. Buried in that document, nutritional analysis. The nuts contain 52% starch by dry weight. For comparison, wheat flour is 70 to 75% starch. But wheat requires milling, drying, and processing. Water caltrop can be eaten raw, boiled, or ground into flour with minimal processing. Protein content, 15%. Fat content, 7.5%. Total sugar, 3%. Water, 22.5%. This isn't a wild edible. This is a legitimate staple crop. The mineral profile is even more compelling. A 2014 study published in the Indian Journal of Traditional Knowledge measured the following in 100 grams of water caltrop nuts: potassium, 5.22%, phosphorus, 6.77%, sodium, 0.64%, calcium, 0.25%, iron, 200 ppm, copper, 430 ppm, manganese, 90 ppm, zinc, 600 ppm. That phosphorus content is extraordinary. Most vegetables contain phosphorus in the range of 0.1 to 0.2%. Water caltrop contains 30 times that concentration. Phosphorus is essential for ATP production, the molecule that powers every cell in your body. It's critical for bone formation, DNA synthesis, and cellular energy transfer. The plant is also loaded with B vitamins: B1, thiamine, B2, riboflavin, B5, pantothenic acid, and B6, pyridoxine. These are the vitamins required for converting food into usable energy. They're also heat-stable, meaning they survive cooking. Vitamin C content, 1.1 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh weight. That's modest, but it's present. Beta-carotene, 60 micrograms per 100 grams. Dietary fiber, 2.21%. A 2024 study from Pakistan compared red and green varieties of Trapa natans grown in freshwater systems and found that the green variety contained significantly higher protein, 1.72%, dietary fiber, and antioxidant compounds, including total phenolic content at 91.13 milligrams gallic acid equivalents per gram. The antioxidant activity, measured using DPPH radical scavenging capacity, demonstrated that water caltrop possessed therapeutic potential against oxidative stress, the underlying mechanism in cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and neurodegenerative disorders. The plant also produces an L-gitanin polyphenol called bicornin. L-gitannins are being studied for their anti-cancer properties. They inhibit angiogenesis, the process tumors use to build blood vessel networks. This isn't fringe ethnobotany. This is biochemistry. A 2010 study published in Acta Polonia Pharmaceutica tested aqueous extracts of Trapa natans fruits for antioxidant potential. The results showed significant free radical scavenging activity. A 2014 study in Der Pharmacia Electra tested ethanolic extracts of water caltrop for anti-ulcer activity in rats. The extract reduced gastric ulceration and normalized elevated acid secretion. The mechanism appeared to involve prostaglandin synthesis, the same pathway targeted by modern ulcer drugs. Another 2011 study tested water caltrop extracts for antimicrobial activity against Staphylococcus aureus and Escherichia coli. The plant showed broad-spectrum antibacterial effects. A 2015 paper examined its anti-diabetic properties. Methanol extracts of the fruit peels, administered to streptozotocin-induced diabetic rats at 100 to 200 milligrams per kilogram body weight, significantly reduced fasting blood glucose levels and improved glucose tolerance. The effect was dose-dependent. The starch itself is unusual. Water caltrop starch has an amylose content of 47.1%, far higher than rice, 20 to 30%, or corn, 25 to 30%. High amylose starches resist rapid digestion, producing a lower glycemic response. In 2013, researchers used water caltrop starch to make yogurt. At a 1.25% addition rate, it dramatically improved water holding capacity, reduced syneresis, the watery separation you see in cheap yogurt, and increased viscosity without affecting taste. The product was superior to yogurt stabilized by gelatin. In 2021, a team led by Dr. Leili Chi at Sun Yat-sen University published a chromosome-level genome assembly of Trapa natans in the journal New Phytologist. The genome revealed something fascinating. The cultivated varieties of water caltrop are all derived from diploid wild populations inhabiting the Pearl Yangtze Yellow River region. The Yangtze River Valley is the center of origin. Genomic modeling suggested that domestication began approximately 6,300 years before present, around 4300 BC, but the Tianloshan archaeological site, where fruit remains were found in storage pits, dates to 7,000 years before present. That means intensive cultivation was already underway by 5000 BC. The roots of water caltrop are photosynthetic. The feathery submerged roots contain chlorophyll and can perform photosynthesis underwater, supplementing the plant's energy production. They also absorb dissolved inorganic nitrogen directly from water, making the plant a natural phytoremediator. It pulls nitrogen out of eutrophic systems, reducing algal blooms. This is why the plant thrives in nutrient-rich water. It's not creating the pollution, it's feeding on it. In Asia, water caltrop is deliberately planted in eutrophic lakes to clean the water. It accumulates heavy metals, cadmium, nickel, cobalt, in its tissues, effectively mining toxins out of contaminated sediment. After harvest, the biomass can be composted or used as livestock feed. The plant acts as a biological filter. In North America, this same property is called invasive. Water caltrop is an annual. It dies completely every year. Only the seeds survive winter. Those seeds require cold stratification, at least 9 weeks below 4 degrees Celsius, before they'll germinate. This means the plant can only reproduce once per year, during the growing season from April to October. Each plant produces 15 to 20 rosettes on the water's surface. Each rosette can generate up to 20 seeds. That's 300 to 400 nuts per plant maximum. They're heavy, they sink immediately. Most germinate within the first 2 years. Some remain dormant for up to 12 years, creating a persistent seed bank. Here's the paradox that no one wants to discuss. The most effective method for controlling Trapa natans in North America isn't herbicide, it's harvest. In Asia, where the plant is cultivated, it doesn't form uncontrollable mats. Why? Because it's harvested annually. Every year before the seeds mature, farmers wade into the water and collect the rosettes. The nuts are sold, the biomass is removed, the population is kept in check through economic use. A 1999 harvest event on the Sassafras River in Maryland removed 260,000 pounds of water caltrop in 3 days, using 60 volunteers with rakes. That's 118 metric tons. If those nuts had been sold as food at even a modest price, say $2 per kilogram, that's $236,000 worth of harvest. Instead, the biomass was disposed of as waste. Lake Champlain spends $500,000 annually on control efforts. If even a fraction of that budget funded commercial harvest operations, the plant could become a revenue source rather than an expense. The nuts have a ready market in Asian communities. The flour can be sold as a gluten-free specialty product. But that would require reclassifying the plant. It would require admitting that invasive isn't a biological category, it's a political one. The same plant that's protected in Germany is poisoned in New York. The same nut that sustained Chinese civilization for 6,300 years is treated as toxic waste in Maryland. There are 603,076 acres of water caltrop under cultivation globally. There are 2,327,495 tons harvested every year. In North America, it's illegal in multiple states. This is not about biology. This is about narrative. We don't eat it. We don't process it into flour. We throw it away. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe.